So it's great to talk to you, Corey. The first time I got the Resident Alien interviews, I got like 2 seconds with you. They were at the end of the thing. They said, "Oh, we'll give you one-on-one with him later," and then I never got it. And now
Well,
we
and
are.
if I remember correctly, it's because I was really long-winded.
No,
I didn't
I think it
when it
was
came time.
Alan. Actually, I think it was Alan.
Okay.
It was,
There, okay, fine. We'll put it on Alan then. He
yeah.
can handle that. Yeah, there we go.
So no,
Sorry to just jump in here. Allison just joined. Allison, are you able to, can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I think she's still having technical difficulties. Suzanne, if you want to just go ahead and continue, and I'll message you, Allison.
Okay. No, Elizabeth, right? Just
No, Elizabeth.
okay. That's what they told me. So you can go both. You can be both people. Mike sees Liv in a vulnerable moment. We saw the first 4 episodes because of her grandma. Does this mean he'll treat her a little nicer, you think?
Oh, wow. I think he would have to think he treats her mean for him to treat her nicer. I'm not sure if he sees it as mean. I do think what he wants is for her to stand up to her grandmother. I don't think he likes seeing it. And he's a little shocked. I think there's a serious irony now that I really sit and think about it in this moment to how he supports her in the abuse she takes from her grandmother, but doesn't necessarily maybe consider some of the things that he flippantly says to her as being equally as painful for her. That is an interesting twist. I think it's also kind of like she has accepted in some ways how Mike is because he's shown her his most vulnerable sides. And I think she understands that outside of that, like that's how Edith could love Archie. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like he was this, cantankerous guy or whatever, but he had moments where he would show her who he was. And that's
Right.
what she always projected on him, even through all the gruffness. And I think that there is a similar component to that with Deputy Liv and Mike, that being that she knows what he's hiding, and what he's hiding is a broken heart in many ways, and a broken boy who lost his mom, and a broken man who lost his best friend. And she understands that part of his thing that he does to support himself is to puff himself up. So she sees him as like a puffer fish, knowing that it's just all hot air. And I think that makes her acceptance of him kind of gives the audience permission to be accepting of him as well.
Just occurred to me, what's with all the dead moms and your characters? Like they almost all have.
There are some really, yeah, there's some twisted kind of, everybody's got this Mike lost his mom and he's had difficulties with his father. Asta, didn't lose her mom, but she lost her mom in the sense of being around her mom and her father. Because I mean, Dan is her adoptive father ultimately, which it kind of is this irony with Jay being adopted, and then Darcy's character has issues with her family. That we saw in the last season where she yanked the tablecloth off, and they were talking about her like she wasn't in the room. I think a lot of those things, we are the sum total of our life experiences. So if there were, multiple exponentials baked into the mix early on, it, doesn't surprise me that can have an adverse impact for a parent, a child-parent dynamic later in life for our characters.
Definitely. I lost my mom.
There's that long-winded thing again. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay.
I actually lost my mom during this production as well, actually.
No, I'm sorry.
Which was, yeah.
Yeah, I lost mine when she was 10, when I was 10, so it was a long time ago. But anyway.
Well, hey, man, pain is pain. It does not expire.
No, it sure doesn't. It gets a little easier with time. I'll tell you that, since you just lost your mom not that long ago.
No, and I think sometimes it all depends upon how you view that transition. I see it as a transition. So, but there was a lot of baggage there
Yeah.
in growing up. So,
Okay. So why do you think Liv puts up with Mike? Is it because of her abusive background, or is it because, and what you said about the vulnerability, or I mean, I noticed she gives it back to him when she can.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful parry that she does. It reminds me, I studied mixed martial arts for a while, and there's a form called Hapkido. And in Hapkido, you are using your opponent's momentum against them. It's a form that was popularized by Steven Seagal in all the movies. And with very small motions, you could do a lot of damage because you were using that person's momentum against them. And I think that's what she's great at. She's great at parrying. I used the example earlier in an interview where it's like Mike is playing Jenga with her, and he thinks that if he can just pull this block and this block, and then he pulls all the blocks out of a complete level, and it's still just hovering. You know what I mean? He can't figure out how to make the blocks fall over for her because she's impenetrable. And I think I wouldn't say she's impenetrable. She has developed the ability during her life experience to confront and absorb the unwelcome energy of bullies. And I think she hit her limit with that burger in the diner that day where she finally had enough of Mike and his bullying. And I think that was a wake-up call for him that he needs her.
Yeah.
And she's a good friend to him. And I love working with Liz. She's the best. She's an incredible scene partner. We have incredible chemistry. She's the best. She's the best. So we get to have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, in real life, you have these non-romantic male-female friendships all the time, but you don't see them too often on TV.
No, and I think someone else asked about the romantic component there, and I think it's something it goes back to moonlighting. You know what I mean? It's like with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. There's this will they, won't they component. I think there were some people who felt the same way about my character Gabriel and Kira's character on The Closer. I think that we can have deeply emotional connections with the opposite sex, and it doesn't have to always manifest itself in a way that feels romantic. You can have a kinship and a connection that runs very deep. Clearly, she and he run very deep, but I feel like it's become more of a brother sister.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure she would say she's the big sister and he's the little brother, and he would say he's the big brother and she's the little sister. So,
Yeah, definitely. Well, they
and that
make
would be
it, yeah.
yeah.
They make it easy for us to do that since she's married, and so they,
Absolutely.
not the kind of
And
show where she would cheat on her husband.
right. No, I don't think that's a part of the story we're looking
No,
to tell.
no. Well, I loved
Mike's got enough
Closer.
trouble with women.
I loved you on The Closer too, by the way. That was
Oh, thank you.
that was a
Thank
great
you. I
show.
love Gabriel.
You're so different on this show. I forgot it was the same.
I've had people say that to me.
Yeah.
I've had people say that to me. They were like, man, I had to go on IMDb. And I was like, no, somebody told me that was the guy from The Closer. And I was like, no, man, that ain't him. And so I went and looked it up. And sure enough, you are you. And I was like, I am me. I am me. Can you believe that? Yeah. But I feel like for me, I started my career in comedy in Hairspray on Broadway. And when I was doing comedy, you want to prove you can do drama. And then I did drama for a long time, and I was like, wait a minute, I think people have forgotten that I can do comedy. So I like it. To me, it's all about how interesting a character is, and they gave me a lot of freedom with Mike. They let me do things with Mike that I've never had the ability to do before. Right. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, in Syfy you get comedy and drama, and if you're lucky, you get all those.
Yeah, I think that's a really key component to our storytelling is the ability to have an episode tap into laughing that can bring you to tears and emotions that can bring you to tears. And you can have all of that happen within the same, hour of television. And I think that's and with the backdrop of an alien show, and all the science fiction, if you can find a way to make all of that work like a jambalaya, you know what I mean? But Chris found the recipe.
Definitely.
So You know,
All
I'm
right.
happy to eat it up. Num, num, num.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to talk to you.
Thank you. Be well, Suzanne.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Which one do I go into?